Hey everyone, my name is Laura and I am one of the coaches over at RWL, also mama to 2 children of my very own. So I thought I would come on today and just do a bit of a chatty story really with you, talking about positive birth experiences. We hear so many scary stories, and when you are pregnant and waiting to give birth, the last thing you need is to be bombarded with information that is making you feel more scared or worried. So I wanted to come with you with a big dose of positivity and just tell you some of my experiences with my 2 children. So grab a cup of tea, get yourself cozy, and let's settle in and have a little chat. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, so you can keep up to date with all of the amazing content we're going to be posting on here. But yeah, I'm going to put my cup of tea down because it's definitely too hot to be chatting with it. So I have had 2 children myself, which has been incredible, but both of my births were very different. So I'm going to focus on my second birth, which was my son Ryan today, but I will touch on Lara's birth because Lara's birth is what actually pushed me into having such a positive birth with my son. So I'll quickly briefly go over like Lara's birth with you, but I'm going to really summarise very quickly. So Lara came 2 weeks early. My best friend actually was pregnant at the time and she had her son. He was 2 weeks late, and then I went into the hospital, went and cuddled her baby. Basically that set me into labour, and I went home, lost my mucus plug, went straight into labour. It seemed to come on quite thick and fast, and I don't know about how anyone else feels about this, but I was absolutely petrified. I was so scared about giving birth because I had watched One Born Every Minute, most of which the ones I had watched on there were quite a lot of ones that just made it seem very scary. And then I also used to work in a nursery, and people, obviously I was around a lot of people who had given birth having worked in a nursery, so I heard a lot of horror stories, and it seemed like people really enjoyed telling you their war wounds of birth and how crazy it could be or traumatic and blah blah blah, and it felt really overwhelming to me. So I had already come round to the fact with Lara that I was probably just going to go for the epidural because I didn't want to feel anything. All of this stuff that people had told me about, I didn't want to feel it. So anyway, when I got to the hospital, I basically opted for the epidural pretty much straight away. From there, it was a very slow process. It slowed it right down. I had the drugs to kind of speed it back up again. And then I let the epidural wear off when it came to the actual pushing, because they said that if you don't like let it wear off a little bit, it can be hard to know when to push and stuff like that. So I just took their advice and went with that. A lot of pushing. It was about, I think, well over an hour of pushing with Lara. And then she was in this world and that was fine. But it wasn't the experience, I think, that I necessarily had wanted. So I then became the person of when people went, oh my God, how was the birth? How was the birth? I was like, oh my God, it was so difficult. And it wasn't what I thought it was going to be like at all. And actually, when I decided to have my second, so I fell pregnant with Ryan, and I was watching, again, One Born Every Minute, because is there a pregnant person that doesn't like to just watch One Born Every Minute? I'm not sure, maybe that's just me. But I watched One Born Every Minute, and they had this woman on there that did hypnobirthing. And she had a really active birth. It just seemed lovely. And I was like, oh my God, that's what I want. I want her birth. I will have that wrapped in a box, please. I'm gonna give birth like that. So I decided I was going to find out about what all of this hypnobirthing business was about. It was a little while ago I had my son now. He is literally about to turn 6, which is absolutely crazy to me. But this was before sort of all of the hypnobirthing amazing courses that are accessible to us now. So I found a company, and it came with a hypnobirthing book, which was really quite like detailed, just explaining what was going to happen, what the different stages were, what could be quite useful visualizations, how to maybe create a birth plan, just giving me loads of information to actually understand the process. Because crazy enough, even though obviously our bodies give birth and we know that there is a baby, it grows in your tummy, and then the baby comes out of the body. I don't know about you, but I was absolutely clueless about, I didn't really understand what a contraction was. Like I knew my uterus was contracting, but I didn't really understand like the motion or what that might look like. I'd heard the basic words of like dilation and things like that, but I really wasn't clued up on the science behind what giving birth was. So this book basically gave you a really detailed roadmap of the history of birth, where people had given birth before, like what could be useful tips, what could be useful tools, all of those sort of things. And I was like, okay, great, I can get behind this. I like learning the science behind things. I'm always like, if I understand why something's happening, I'm more inclined to feel comfortable with it. So it was that, and then there was some audio CDs that I would put on in my boombox. Yes, I did still have a boombox at this point. Oh my God, I feel really old. But it was like just some CDs. I had one and I would just listen to it in bed, and it was just kind of a guided meditation, I would say, relaxation, kind of like hypnosis thing. Never can recall listening to the whole of it because I fell asleep every single time, but it was really enjoyable and I did have a good sleep. But it was mainly like going to my happy place, being calm, that sort of stuff. And then the second CD you started listening to like just before birth, and that was more like sort of you walking you through what labour might look like. Now, from my husband's point of view, Mark, the first labour, I found him in the nicest possible way. He was a little bit useless, and it wasn't his fault. He had no idea what I wanted because I had no idea what I wanted, and no one had given him any clue about what to do in this situation. So he just sat there in the corner eating really and chilling out, or being on his phone, or I was napping. You know, it wasn't a very like we weren't really, I would say, one in the experience, because I was going through some stuff and he had no idea how to cope with me. So we decided that the second time round we wanted to try and get him as involved as possible. So I highlighted the bits that I found were relevant in the book and the information that I found would be useful to him to read. So he got clued up on that. We talked about what I thought I wanted would be, so we could work together on that, which again became really useful. He knew my cues and stuff like that. So I went through that whole process. I feel like I really prepared myself for the birth this time. So I felt really prepared for this labour, birth, everything. Like I was like, yeah, so in the zone for it. And then I was meant to have a home birth. The plan had been that I was going to have a home birth. I fought quite hard to be able to have one because I did have a couple of complications last time, but we had agreed as a unit that I was going to have a home birth. I was adamant Ryan was going to come early because Laura had come early. He didn't come early. I was very impatient and very high stress. When I got overdue, I just didn't feel like I could feel him moving properly. So I was regularly going into the hospital, getting monitored, and then just checking me over. After I'd done this for like the third or fourth time, and I was like 2 weeks overdue, they were like, look, you can either keep coming in every day and getting monitored, or we can induce you. I know that's not on your birth plan. What would you prefer? And I was like, I want this baby out of me. Please induce me. So I got booked in, came in for an induction. I went in the middle of the night because I was on just like a wait. I don't know if this happens for everyone, but for me, I was like on a waiting list. So they called me in the middle of the night. Went in, started the induction process. Mark went home, and then in the morning they broke my waters, and it all went very seemingly quite quickly from there. They wanted me, because I've been induced, I couldn't be in like one of the sort of more relaxed wards. I had to be in the one that's the more dependent ward. I can't remember what the name of that one is, but the more dependent ward, I was on there so they could monitor me and hook me up. They decided that they wanted to give me a cannula, which I was really unsure about, but I went with it. So it was everything that was against my birth plan. My birth plan was like I was going to be at home in this little cocoon, and then all of a sudden I was in the hospital. My midwife was amazing and really facilitated. She didn't really know what my hypnobirthing plan was as such, or what that looked like to me, and I was like, honestly, really, I just want to listen to my CD. So little boombox came out, the CD went on, listening to my like chill out music. Something else that was really helpful, so I was still able to be mobile because I wasn't hooked up to like loads of machineries or anything like that. I did have to be monitored like with the little monitoring pads around my belly, but I was still able to move as much as physically possible in there. So I was on the birth ball, breathing through my contractions. One thing that I really loved is I laid out all of Ryan's little going home outfit. Like I picked this really cute killer whale outfit from H&M, and I loved it. But I like laid it out on the bed, so when I was like, every time I had a contraction come in, I could just be like, this is one step closer to my baby. And those things really helped me. My best friend was also my birthing partner, so every time I had contractions, she would be rubbing into my lower back, because that's where I was really feeling the intensity there. And then Mark would be kind of in my face, ready to sort of give me the cues that I wanted. So go into my beach holiday, a pina colada be in there for me, because that's honestly what I was craving. I was like, I just want to be on the beach with a pina colada. But all of these visualizations and stuff like that helped me massively. And I can honestly say I didn't find the contractions painful. I found them powerful, which I still find really crazy to say now, because I feel like when I say that, I'm like, are you really saying that? Because most people don't really say that about labour, but I really enjoyed the whole process of labour this time round. Crazy, but true, I actually enjoyed it. So labour progressed really quickly from there. My contractions just kept coming every time I got checked, every time I got checked over, more and more progression. I just stayed on gas and air. I tried a number of different positions for when it started getting to the point where my body felt ready to start pushing. I did try about 5 or 6 different positions. I laid on my side. I sort of was in a kneeling position on the bed. So again, even if you are on wards where obviously if you have the epidural, you're not going to be able to get into all these different positions because your body isn't going to be moving properly. But even if you plan on having like a water birth or a more relaxed birth or a home birth or anything like that, and your plan doesn't go as you think it's going to, it doesn't mean you can't have that experience of being able to be mobile and be active throughout birth. I still really managed that. Yeah, and then it was just a case of, I had a bit too much gas now. I remember one point the midwife, bless her, saying, Laura, I think it's time you stopped. And I realised that she was definitely talking the truth then, because at that point I did think I was inside a video game. I wasn't, I was giving birth, but there was a lot of gas near in my system, so we took a little step back. Turns out giving birth for me, the only position that felt comfortable and would work was in the one that they say is not the right one for giving birth really necessarily, but obviously works for my body just because my cervix is in a bit of a weird place, so I think that's why this is comfortable for me. But laying fully on my back, legs in stirrups, all of that. Again, really long pushing process. I think I just struggled to get the babies out there, but like, we can see him, we can see the head, he's coming, and then no, he's back. It's back. Oh no, he's coming, he's coming. No, he's not. But eventually he did come out after they, this happened both of the times with both my labours. They were like, okay, if we're gonna give you like another 10 minutes of pushing, if not, we're gonna get the forceps out. Both times, I tell you, I have pushed and pushed and pushed until that baby came out. And thankfully, I avoided the forceps both times. Yeah, and then Ryan was here. I did have a little video, and I don't know if I can find it anywhere. Literally, my friend as well, I said I did not want, I was like, I don't want any photos, I don't want any videos, no. And my best friend ignored my advice completely, ignored what I told her, but she videoed the minute I met Ryan and pulling him up onto my chest, and she got pictures of all of those first moments, and they are just like so special to me. To anyone else I feel like, oh my god, that's so gross, but to me they were really special. So I do actually really recommend, even if you don't feel like you want to, go and have those pictures. But yeah, then the baby's there and we're just in that little bubble, just holding him. Oh don't, I'll get all emotional. He was just this tiny, he had like, he wasn't tiny, Ryan was actually 9 pound 2. I know, right? I had a 9 pound 2 baby, what a chunk. And a whole head of like thick, dark hair. Like the midwives would come around and be like, we've come to see the baby with, like the big baby with all of the hair. That was my son. But yeah, just those lovely cuddles afterwards. Oh, and you're like, oh my God, I'm meeting you for the first time. I've had so many visualizations of what you're like as a person, and now I found you. I don't know if you can hear those weird noises, it's like birds going on in the background. But yeah, that really in a nutshell is my birth story. But what I really want to send as a message out there, like if this is your first baby, even if this is your second baby, third baby, and you haven't had the most amazing experiences so far with that birth, please don't think that that means that you're doomed or that birth is this negative, horrible thing. Something that I learned that really made such a difference, which I didn't think it would, because when I think like mind over matter and all of that stuff, I've just never really thought of it being something that was part of birth. But actually, when I took away that feeling of it's going to be so painful, I'm going to be in so much pain, and I switched that for it's going to be so powerful, it's going to be so intense, and just changing the language super early into my pregnancy, changing that language, reshaping what those thoughts might be like, had a massive impact. Like, it ended up not being scary, it ended up being a really beautiful, probably one of my most favourite days ever. And not just because I got a baby at the end, but I don't think I've ever felt like such a boss as I did in that moment. I've never felt so strong and so powerful and so proud of my body for like doing what it was meant to do. Like it really showed up for me, like it worked and it tried really hard, and together we were really powerful. And I also know friends who have since done hypnobirthing and have gone through the stages of having a natural birth and then, or a vaginal birth, and then that changing and them having to have a cesarean section, and actually that also being a wonderful experience and being able to take those positivities from whatever your birth plan is, have a little plan for every eventuality, and that whatever the birth experience that you have has merit to be able to be a positive and good experience for you. But yeah, I can honestly say if I could give birth again, I would. I'm not going to, because I've had my children, they're getting old now. Life is getting a little bit more easy, so I'm going to enjoy that while that's there, because yeah, it's an absolute dream having children, absolutely love it, but there is some real challenges between the highs, there's the lows, and it kind of does this all of the time. And yeah, now I've got one that's got to 6, I feel like, yeah, I'm definitely ready not to have any more children. I like now being the fun auntie, definitely a fun auntie person now. And yeah, if you ever have any questions or anything like that, or you want to let me know your birth experience or your worries, anything like that, then pop it in the comments, because I would love to hear about your powerful birth stories. Make sure you like and subscribe so you can keep up to date with the videos. And yeah, I will catch up with you all very soon. Thank you for joining me today. Bye.